All right, guys, I'm back. It's been a while, hasn't it, since I've done like a sit down one? Since Usman, I think, which isn't that long, but I wanted to make these I planned on doing a lot more videos talking about International Fight Week and all of that, but it was literally the most insane, fun week ever. And I just wanted to talk about that with you guys, my whole experience. If anyone was ever thinking about going, what to expect, and just overall what my experience was like. To be completely transparent, you guys will probably know my access is better than like a fan that will normally pay for tickets, but in all of that, none of my access is guaranteed, which I will get to. So it is quite stressful. Basically, we'll go from the start, right? International Fight Week, UFC 317. We'll get into it, okay? I'm from Australia, flew to Las Vegas for the first time in over 10 years for this amazing card. My whole agenda with the UFC is that I want to be the face of the Asia Pacific region. I want fans to think of me when they think of the female presence, you know? So when I think about America, I think of Megan Levy, I think of Laura Sanko. When I think of the UK, I think of Caroline Pierce. I want people to think of me when they think about the UFC in Asia, Australia, New Zealand. That's my goal. And with that, I feel like I need to be present at these events, whether or not I'm working. I just feel like there comes so much benefits when the UFC and my followers can see me actively wanting to be present at these events, because at the end of the day, I'm a fan and I love that I'm able to get access to these events, and I feel like I should be taking advantage of that. So I will always say that I will go to every Asia Pacific event. So already I know that I'm going to be going to Shanghai and Perth, but I also like to pick and choose the bigger events, which is why I decided to go to International Fight Week. And last year I went to 309 at Madison Square Garden as well. So this was probably the biggest card to date that I'd ever been to, besides 309 at MSG, but just International Fight Week as a whole. They have so many guest fighters coming out, and there's just so many things going on throughout the week. I've been to many cards before. I think this was my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Is this my like 5th or 6th card? I don't know. I've been to a few, but this was definitely my craziest, okay? So first of all, flew to Vegas without having tickets confirmed. Is that crazy? Yes, I would say. I have a lot of faith in myself, my management, the network that I've developed within this short amount of time, that I would somehow be able to eventually get in to the event. But I flew to Vegas without having confirmation of tickets to UFC 317. So that was terrifying in itself, and my anxiety for the whole week was at a higher level than usual, just because I didn't know if I would actually be going to the event that I was flying across the world for, right? But it keeps things exciting. I was also thinking to myself, wouldn't it be funny if I flew across the world for the UFC and I didn't even end up going to the UFC? Luckily, I did end up getting in, but I also had in my head, yeah, it would be a funny story regardless. Probably would have gotten a lot of engagement and insights from that, but obviously didn't want that to happen. But it was in the back of my mind the whole time. Every single day I was like, oh my gosh, I don't have tickets. What am I going to do? But that in itself was kind of set the tone for the whole trip. I was very excited and very nervous the whole time. But we'll go from me taking off on the Monday. I flew on the Tuesday and landed Tuesday night. That night I had dinner with Minty Betts, which was lovely. We got ramen and just had a chill night. I told myself to try and beat the jet lag. I didn't want to go to bed straight away. So I powered through. We had a late night ramen. It was really, really nice. Something cozy after a long day's travel. And then Wednesday, I was supposed to interview Henry Cejudo on the Wednesday. That was my plan. And then I had dinner with the girls, so Red De La Cruz and Minty Betts again. I had dinner with them that night, and also that night I was supposed to go on the roller coaster, the New York roller coaster with Dan Hooker, but that fell through. So that Wednesday, it was essentially my only like free day when it came to UFC events, because there, the next day was the press conference. The day after that was weigh-ins. Like the other days had kind of UFC agenda things happening, but that Wednesday I had completely off, so I was free. But unfortunately, my interview with Henry fell through. My roller coaster with Dan fell through. So that Wednesday I ended up just touristing around. But the dinner with Red and Minty was amazing. It was just so nice the whole week to be able to meet so many people that I'd engaged with online before. I think especially women, and Asian women I want to highlight was really nice, because I think, and they would probably agree with, it's very, very uncommon for, I feel like, us Asian women to get that representation in what is such a male dominated field. Not only that, but then you just very rarely see Asian women representation in mainstream media. So it was really nice to meet and connect with them. And I just felt so welcome. That dinner was at Hakkasan, and one of Red's friends was also there from Australia, which was really fun. And that was a complimentary dinner as well. So shout out to Hakkasan, because that was lovely. Perfect amount of food, all delicious. The dessert was amazing. It was like this Ferrero Rocher ice cream thing. Great stuff. Unfortunately, Henry postponed me until the next day. And then Dan Hooker, that night I told him that my dinner was finished. And then he ended up getting caught up with a team dinner, which he said that he wouldn't be finished with by the time that the ride had closed. So it just kind of fell through there. He didn't ghost me though, which he definitely could have done. So I'm glad he did actually say, like, we can definitely try and make it work throughout the week. But that didn't end up happening. But if I do ever see him in the future, I'm going to be pulling his leg about it, because I am still bitter that I didn't get to do it with him. I was really looking forward to that at the start of the trip. So yeah, and then Thursday came about. So Thursday was, I guess, the first like full day of stuff that I had on. The Thursday, I had my interview with Henry in the morning, and then I went to the press conference, and then it was the Hall of Fame ceremony. And then, and then I went out for dinner with Minty again that night. Okay. So interview with Henry was amazing. It was shot at his hotel where they were shooting pound for pound. And Henry is such a good person to, I think, just do a sit-down interview with. This was the first time I'd ever done a sit-down chat with. And I didn't have much planned, to be honest, because I only got confirmed time with him like the night before. Like we were trying to coordinate, but it was all very last minute, and things, again, got moved around. So I didn't have much time to actually structure out and plan anything. But luckily, Henry is so good at speaking and giving back. So it was really easy to have that conversation flow. And I got a lot of compliments after as well from his team, saying that it was really nice, like my style and how casual and relaxed it was. So that made me feel really nice. And I think has gotten me a lot more comfortable and confident, hopefully, in doing more in-person things in the future. I was also supposed to interview Yusuf Zalal. We were going to do something similar, and then that fell through, and then we were going to go do some content at In-N-Out, which would have been really fun, but then that fell through. But I met him anyway, so that was lovely. Hopefully sometime in the future we can get together for some content, because he was really fun. But yeah, Henry was fun, and I think that was a really, really good start to kind of my agenda for the rest of the week. So finished that and then went to the press conference. Press conference was fun. The most exciting thing for me was having my own section. It was completely unexpected because, again, I went into this week having no idea about what my access was going to be like. And so I got in, and it was complicated because I'm not under any other media conglomerate. Normally when you go check in for access, I would say like, oh, I'm Ali Mack and I'm here with ESPN. I'm Ali Mack and I'm here with TKO. This time I was by myself completely. I wasn't under I wasn't there for anyone else. So people would say like, oh, who are you with? I'm like, it's me. So some people, if you knew who I was, it was easy, but then obviously a lot of people didn't, and particularly people that worked at the arena would have no idea who I was as well. So getting into places was a bit of a headache. So originally I ended up following Adam from UFC ANZ, and he just like allowed me to sit down somewhere until Tara from PR got me and was like, oh, we've got a section for you here. And then I saw my name on the chair, and I had like tickets with my name on it, and it was just so nice, so unexpected. And it, like, I think I got teary when I was there and I'm going to get teary thinking about it now, because it was just such an unexpected little thing that I just didn't have in my head. And I definitely didn't have to do that. And I just saw all of these media people that I admire sat behind me. Like, I was directly behind the friends and family section. And again, they had 2 seats for me, but I was by myself. So I tried to get a follower to come down. But that ended up not, like, I would have had to have left my seat and all of that. But so that was a really crazy experience. I was actually sat just next to Charles Oliveira's team, and they were really, really loud and fun. So that was cool. Ian Gary was there. The environment at the press conferences and weigh-ins is always really fun. And then I ended up going back to my hotel room there and changed for the Hall of Fame ceremony. I just figured I was in the same clothes for the whole day, and Hall of Fame is a little bit fancier. So I changed into a nice little pink number, felt a little bit more fancy. And I also had a nice dinner that night as well with Minty. So the Hall of Fame happened. I had to leave after I actually filmed this whole thing yesterday, as you would have seen, and then it cut off because my SD card decided to shit itself. So I'm here for part 2. I ended up doing a full-on 40-minute yap, and it cut off, which is really annoying because I was on a roll and I didn't even realize until I finished that it stopped recording. So I believe I was at the end of me talking about the Hall of Fame. Yes, so I did leave early because I had dinner plans. That was actually organized by the UFC. Why is my light not on? Is this dead? You know what? This is super chaotic. You're just going to have to deal with it. Because I got to get this out. It's it's been a week. Well, 6 nights since fight night. I have to get this out here. So you're just going to have to deal with the lights dying and all of that. Because I just got a yap. So, yes, I left Hall of Fame early. I saw Vitor Belfort, The Ultimate Fighter, and Izzy and Gastelum's awards be given. And then I left because I had dinner reservations, which were organized by someone in the UFC, which was really, really nice. It was Mizumi at Win, which was lovely. I took Minty with me, and we had such a good time. Oh, there goes one light. It was really, really good and just delicious. Basically, it was because they saw that I was eating Raising Cane's, and they're like, that cannot be your kind of standard for American or Vegas dining. So they're like, you have to go here. So they organized that dinner for me and Minty, which was lovely. So Friday I had a full day. Started off with, I was going to go to the official weigh-ins, but decided against it because I just wanted to sleep in, honestly. I think the jet lag started to hit me and I was getting really tired. And so I was like, no, I'm not going to go to the officials, but I did go to where they were, which was UFC HQ, which is in the same complex as the PI and the Apex. So I had a tour of UFC HQ, and that was so, so cool. I think the building, it's big because they've literally got this whole plot of land with 3 massive buildings on it. It's big, but it also feels quite intimate in a way. So you've got the HQ building, which is where all the office spaces are. They've got a store there. They've got where a cafeteria area and a garden area. And then they've got the PI next door, which is what you see on Embedded a lot. That has, 2 octagons, a gym, saunas, grounds for like mats for grappling and stuff, and then the Apex. I didn't go to the Apex, but yeah, I got to see HQ and the PI, which was really cool. I think the UFC do such a good job there. Like, if I was a UFC athlete, I would definitely want to be near where one of the performance institutes were, whether that be Shanghai or Mexico. You're seeing them pop up a lot more around the world now, even though the Mexican one just burned down. But that Vegas one, it's such a cool space. I really do think that they look after their athletes in a way there, which is really, really nice to see. And it's free and open to any UFC athlete, which is really, really cool. Did I see anyone training? I saw Aljo there, and they were filming some stuff there as well. So I didn't see anyone, I think, on the card training that I remember. But I did actually see Forrest Griffin while I was doing my tour of HQ, which was really, really cool. I was telling him about how I've just been doing content, and I'm very honest in that I'm a new fan, only started watching in 2019, and was basically telling him about how I watch old fights, and one that I often get recommended was the Griffin Bonnar fight. So yeah, he was just very, very sweet, showing me his little office, and we were looking at his trinkets and stuff. It was really, really nice. Didn't really feel like a moment where I'd ask for a photo, because it was just me, Brandon, who was taking me around, and then like him in his office. It did feel like, oh, can I get a photo like while you're in your office? It just didn't feel right. There are certain moments where I look back on the week and I'm like, oh, I could have gotten a photo there, but it's nice to have those memories to myself as well. Like, I know what happened, and yeah, sometimes like I captured so many moments during the week. So it's nice to also have those memories just to myself. And now I'm talking about it, I'll be able to look back and remember, like, oh yeah, I did meet Forrest Griffin in his office, which was really, really cool. Yeah, I went into the UFC store, which they have at their HQ, which I believe is pretty cool because they have it at like cost price. Like, they don't upcharge, I think. I didn't get anything. I was thinking about getting this little like teddy bear lion thing because it reminded me of Ted, my dog, but didn't get that. It wasn't a trip where I was going to be really lavish with my spending money, so I was like, no, let's be sensible here. Um, yeah, and then I went straight from HQ to UFC X. So I only went to UFC X on the Friday, and I met so many lovely people there. I met quite a few of you guys who watch on YouTube, which I feel like if you're a YouTube subscriber of mine, you're like a proper follower, which I really love and appreciate. Um, I the, the convention is just so much fun. I've said it once and I'll say it again, that the UFC do such a good job in connecting fans to the athletes and the promotion and all of these experiences. So you did have to pay for convention tickets, but honestly, there's just so much stuff there. It is so worth it. Yes, you have to choose, I'd say maybe three athletes that you're willing to take the time and line up for, because those meet and greet lines can be really, really long. But overall, there's Q&As, there's autograph signings, there's interactive things, like they had the barber shop happening. I'm pretty sure you could play like UFC 5 with some of the guys, and like Topps cards unboxings with Nina and Dana. There was just so much stuff on. And then as well, I was able to sit in Media Row where there were a lot of fighters doing their interviews and stuff, which was really cool to see. I got my photo with Michelle Waterson Gomez and Minty Betts, our little Spider-Man pic, which was really fun. We'd been talking about that for a few weeks, actually, so I'm really, really glad that we actually got to make that happen. And then, so morning at UFC HQ, afternoon at UFC X, and then I had the ceremonial weigh-ins. So I went straight from UFC X to the ceremonials, which it was I was like starting to fade a bit at that day. I remember I was like, oh God, I'm tired now. Jet lag, but overall they were long days. So ceremonials, which was fun. I think I just had a kind of standard UFC VIP experience on location ticket for that. but I ended up moving a few rows forward into the media credential section, which you're not supposed to do, but I'm pretty sure if anyone saw me there, I would have been fine, but don't do that. And then after the ceremonial weigh-ins, Power Slap was on. So I figured I was in Vegas. It's International Fight Week. It was something different. I've never been to a Power Slap event before. I knew that some people would give me shit to be like, oh my God, industry plant, look, now she's going to promote Power Slap. Look, I didn't. I posted that I went, but I didn't promote anything. I just wanted to see, because you often hear people say you can't talk shit about Power Slap until you go to a live event. And I was like, okay, well, let's give it a go, right? Honestly, my transparent review of it was that the environment is really fun. I was in the standing section where there's a lot of influencers and fighters. It's a very social scene. They had an open bar and food. And yeah, you're just surrounded by really cool people, which is fun. But it's a very different crowd to the UFC and MMA crowd, because I was sat at the start, I was stood behind these influencers, and Tom Aspinall walked past, and I was like, holy shit, like I don't get starstruck that often. But when Tom Aspinall walked past, it caught me so off guard. I wasn't expecting it. And I was like, oh my God. And then I looked at the guy next to me and he was like, oh my God. And we were like, oh my God. And then the guys in front of us, like these influencers, were like, oh, I think he's a fighter. Yeah, he's a fighter. Like, you can always tell when you look at their ears, if they have cauliflower ear, it means they're a fighter. And I was like, ugh, ick, yuck. So yeah, completely different crowd to the UFC and MMA crowd, because yeah, you've got people like blatantly just filming themselves, filming the experience, which is really cool. I think that's like, Power Slap's obviously a very social media driven sport, so it makes sense that all of those influencers were there doing their content. But yeah, in that kind of social area, I met Patty, I met Yusuf Zalal, I met Marab. So I ended up just having a really fun night, and it's always going to be fun when there's like free food, free drinks. You're surrounded by really cool people. And then the slaps themselves, I will say, when you watch them, it's, I think someone described it as being the perfect combination of like crazy and like admirable and amazing, but also really stupid, because it's like you're standing there waiting to get this full impact. I don't think it's got, like, my opinion is that I don't think it's going to be one that I will continue to follow in terms of who's champ and rankings and things like that. But definitely, if you're ever in an area where they are doing a Power Slap event and you can afford to get into that standing area, I actually don't know if that area is available for purchase. I don't know. But that, to me, is where you should be, because as a female on my own, I had a great time there. And you also, just going to those things though, you do need to be quite open to, you know, meeting strangers and you being the one to approach people. Because if you don't, then you'll probably have a really kind of boring and awkward time. Like, you need to be the open person in that situation. Otherwise, I think, yeah, Power Slap's a really fun time. And then after Power Slap the next day, it was fight day, right? This is where the headache comes in, guys. So again, I had no ticket. All this time, I've got no ticket to fight night. And again, it's weird because I was able to go to all of these events and I was given complimentary access to a lot of these things, but I did not have access to the main fight night. And this is because, which I was warned in advance, it was International Fight Week. It was a very good card with a lot of people wanting to see it. That meant there was a lot of sponsors, guests, celebrities, influencers that are way more important than me who got priority. But also, I found out that a lot of UFC staff and officials couldn't get tickets either. So I wasn't the only one. And I was thinking, shit, like, if these people are missing out on tickets, what's little old Ali Mack who films videos in her living room? Like, they're not going to give her tickets, right? So I was super stressed. I spent the whole day, I think doors opened at like 2 p.m. or something like that. And I think I only found out that I I could get into the building at maybe like 2:30 or something crazy. The first fight was at 4, 5. It was like super, super fun. I did not eat or drink anything that whole morning because I was so, so anxious. Like I said, it would have been funny and I probably would have been able to turn it into content if I didn't get into the event. Like, I traveled across the world to go to the UFC and I didn't go to the UFC. Like, I probably could have turned it into something funny, but in that moment, I was so nervous and stressed. But luckily, in the end, it all worked out, which was really good. So, yes, we got there in the end, but it wasn't without continued headache, right? So I found out that my access into the event was through a media credential, which I've never actually done before. In the past, when I've gone as media, it's usually like, oh, I'm Ali Mack or government name. I'm here with ESPN or TKO. You're a person that is reporting for a company. Whereas this time I was there on my own, right? So I didn't know how that worked. I went to the box office where you register your name and I was like, I'm Ali Mack. And they were like, oh. And I was like, oh, do you have ID? And I was like, oh, but my government name's something else. And they're like, well, we've got you here under Allison, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, yeah, that's me. So I gave them my ID and they cross-checked and they gave me a media credential. And I was like, okay, so this gets me into the building, but I don't have a seat, right? Like, I have a pass that allows me to be where the press conference happens, which is like a tent outside of the arena, and then the press ledge, which is where media watches right at the top. You're literally on like bar stools at the top of the arena, on a ledge. It's literally called press ledge. And I was like, oh shit, okay. Not really my preference because all of these media people are working and I want to be crazy and jump around like an idiot because I'm as a fan, right? I was like, oh, okay. But when I went in, my name was also down for UFC VIP Experience and On Location, who I've done work with before, which was so, so good and lucky that I had. So they gave me a Octagon Access wristband, a VIP Lounge wristband. I didn't know that I would have either of those. Again, I had no idea what my access was for the week. But funny enough, I actually did miss out on my Octagon access at the end of the fights because my brain, having never done post-fight press conference before, was like, oh, I have to leave now to go and see Dana do his bit. So I actually missed out on going into the Octagon after the fights. But where I ended up being in the lounge by myself was I ended up walking around the arena like 3 times, just trying to figure out where to go. And like, as I'm walking around, I'm saying hi to so many people. Like, they all know that I'm okay to be there, but I didn't have the place where I was supposed to be, which was really confusing and stressful. And I'm in heels looking pretty like, oh my God, I don't know what I'm doing. But yeah, so I ended up being shown 2 lounges. There was one that was like on a lower level, but that was going to close at the main event at 7. And I was like, that's kind of annoying because I don't have anywhere else to go after. So I went a level up, which was actually on the same upper level as where the press ledge was. So I was like, oh, it's quite high. Maybe I'll like go a level lower and figure it out after. But I saw that they had an open bar and hot food. So I was like, I'll just stay here for a little bit and get a drink and then go back downstairs. As I was about to leave, Tom Aspinall walks in. Marab walks in. Amanda Nunes walks in. Corey Sandhagen walks in. Aljamain Sterling walks in. I was like, I'm staying. Right? It ended up being the most surreal, like, minute change in my brain in terms of how I was feeling. Because I was like, oh, I'm so high up here. Like, it's just not really the experience that I wanted. And to be fair, I've had nosebleed seats before. I've paid like $1,000, which is way more than you're supposed to for nosebleed seats before. So I understand where, like, I've been there in worse circumstances, right? These were gifted. So I was very, very grateful either way. But just in my head, I was like vertically above the octagon. It was very, very far. And I was like, okay, well, if this is where I am to be, I guess, like, let's just, soak it up and make the most of it. And then all of a sudden it just felt like a billion times better when I saw all of these guest athletes come in. And so I was able to meet Tom and Corey and Amanda Nunes. And so it just ended up being a really, really fun time. But here's the thing, right? So anyone that buys those VIP lounge experiences, which I 100% recommend, if you are able to financially justify that for yourself, oh, there's the light, which I know it is crazy, crazy expensive. So what this is when I say like if you can justify it yourself, definitely do it because it is ridiculously expensive. But honestly, it is so, so worth it. If you want that VIP fan experience, you cannot get closer to some of your favorite athletes in the world than if you do this because you have an open bar, you have hot food, and you're socially mingling with Tom Aspinall, like literally the heavyweight champion of the world. Like, what's the price that you want to put on that, right? And then you have this lounge access, which I believe you can't buy the lounge access on its own. So you buy your ticket. This is what I'm assuming. You buy your ticket, which, because they're really expensive, they're going to be quite low on the ground. But then you have the complimentary lounge access as well. So when the main card actually started, everyone had left to go to their better seats. So I ended up having the lounge all to myself. That's the story, right? And it was actually really, really fun because I ended up just being able to jump up and around all on my own. There was like two dudes like at the other end of the lounge, and I think there were two ladies sat behind me. But basically, I ended up just having the whole area to myself. And obviously, when that Ilya knockout happened, like I was jumping up and down like crazy, and it was just really, really fun. And you could hear the commentary as well, which is a very rare thing in live like UFC events. I've never been to a live event before where you can actually hear the commentary. So that was a nice surprise. Um, so I ended up just having so much fun. What started off as the most stressful day ended up like I had the best time, to be honest. And like I said, after the fights, I could have gone into the octagon, which, like, in hindsight, I'm kind of annoyed that I didn't because I definitely would have had time. But I ended up running to the press conference area where I saw Dana do his little bit, which was cool because I've never seen that before. Um, yeah, and then ended up walking back to my hotel. I was supposed to shoot content with Yusef Zalal, who we were going to go to In and Out and shoot some fun content there. We were going to like eat and talk about the fights. That was the plan, but that fell through because he had the after party to go to, which I could have gone to again, but I'm just not a party gal. And he laughed when I told that to him, but honestly, I could not think of anything worse. I was like, you know what? I'm going to take my complimentary media pizza and go to bed, to be honest, because I had the most amazing week. And, you know, like I said, things fell through, things came up unexpected. But I was just being in Vegas during that week. I had the most incredible time. Um, and then I had a day off the next day before I left on the Monday. So on my day off, I went to the Sphere. I went to Area 51 where I went to like Omega Mart and stuff. I was just a full on tourist. I had Popeyes. Um, so yeah, it was just the best time. My overall insight to the week is that if you're going to International Fight Week, be prepared because it's definitely not for the weak. Bring your energy drinks, bring water. You're going to be dehydrated. It's hot. It's like very hot when you're outside, but then you're freezing when you're inside somewhere because everywhere's blasting AC. But get sleep when you can. Make the most of every single event that is there. Go to Power Slap. Go to the boxing press conference. Go to the weigh-ins. Go to the normal press conference. Go to UFC X. Do the meet and greets. Do like all of these things are there from the UFC to give you guys the most amazing experience. So while you're there, like, why not do it, right? You've already, assuming so, if you've already paid so much to travel to be there, then you might as well like soak it up and just do it, right? That's my thoughts on it anyway. Like, I am very, very lucky that I am able to have the access that I do. And just in those moments, there were so many moments where I was messaging back home, like, I am so, so tired right now, but I just have to up and go to all of these events and I'll sleep for a week when I'm back home, right? That was what I told myself. Um, And it was so worth it. Honestly, I had the best time. Like nothing overly crazy happened, but just I think when you're a UFC fan, like I said, the UFC do such a good job at giving fans these experiences, which it's hard to put a price on. Um, so yeah, definitely would recommend it to anyone that is thinking about going. If you guys have any questions, definitely let me know, and I'm happy to answer whatever I can. Thank you so much to the UFC for giving me the access that they did and the time that they did. Again, little old Ali Mac from Australia, like the fact that I had my little section at the press conference. You guys gave me access to Power Slap and uh, recommended and gave me a complimentary dinner. Like those little moments where I know that the week is so busy for the UFC, where they thought about me, warms my heart so much. And there were so many moments throughout the week where I told myself, like, if I thought about it too much, I would like start to get emotional and cry. And I was like, no, I can't cry because it's going to make me look ugly. But like, it's crazy to think that just over a year ago, my life was completely different. And now I'm able to travel the world and be involved in this promotion and this sport that I have fallen in love with, where so many of the official people know who I am and recognize my love for the sport and promotion as well. So it's just very heartwarming, and I honestly had the best week. I cannot wait for Shanghai, which is up next, and I'm kind of excited that it's just a fight night. It's going to be a lot more chill and low key, and then we've also got Perth after that in September. So, yeah, let me know if you guys have any questions about International Fight Week, what it's like. I would love to help you guys out if you're thinking about traveling or just going for the week. I'd love to help out in any way that I can, but it was honestly, yeah, so much fun. Definitely recommend to any UFC fan. And yeah, until the next one, my next video will probably be, I don't know, do we talk about the White House or do we talk about UFC 318? Some interesting stuff. John Jones is retired. Did I talk about that yet? I don't know. Lots of things. My brain's been all over the place recently, as you can tell. Still a bit jet lagged being back in Oz, but yeah, I am really glad that I have that past week as a memory now to look back on. And yeah, thank you guys for watching. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, all the good stuff. And shout out to anyone that I met that watches my YouTube channel.